Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. All right, we got to talk about cryptocurrencies because it has been a wild ride. Now, to be fair, the entire stock market has also been a wild ride, but cryptocurrencies, especially in the last few days, have gotten a lot of heat and a lot of issues. So I want to give you my thoughts and opinions about the issue with cryptocurrencies as a whole. I'm going to mainly focus on Bitcoin because it's the most popular. I also know people are talking a lot about Luna, which was supposed to be a stable coin, which means it's not supposed to really lose value, but it lost like 99% within like 24 to 48 hours. Something absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to talk more so about just cryptocurrencies as a whole. I'll hone in on Bitcoin just a little bit, and again, kind of highlight the issues here and what I am doing, and then you can derive your own strategy from this. So when I think about cryptocurrencies, the thing I've been saying since 2018 or so, when Bitcoin first burst onto the scene for mainstream consciousness. There are people who are very, very good at technology and been mining and going to Bitcoin conferences and cryptocurrency conferences since the early 2010s. Okay, I've got friends who have done that, and they're way more in depth to all of this stuff than I am. So those people have been in for the longest, right? But that's not everybody. And when it came onto mainstream in 2017, 2018, I came out and said back then that if you are going to do it, one, it is risky, it is new for you, right? If it's, if you were introduced to it in 2017, 2018, you only got 5 years of experience, right? 4 to 5 years max. That's not a whole lot of experience. And the other part of this is when it was introduced, it was taught to us and brought up to us as digital gold and a place to hedge inflation, meaning when inflation goes up, like it has, as high as it's been in 40 years, then this is where you want to be. And that this, should inflation go higher, which it has, then Bitcoin is supposed to rise and offset that to diversify. That was a thought. That was a theory. That's not at all. That's not at all what has happened. For example, Bitcoin in mid-November of 2021 was at $67,000 per coin. And you had people on Twitter left and right saying Bitcoin is going to 100,000. Now you could say that, hey, anybody on Twitter can say anything, which is true, but you even had people on CNBC, Yahoo Finance, and other reputable sites that also got behind the Bitcoin to 100,000 by the end of 2022 mantra. That's where people were. One of the reasons why this was the case was because in July of 2021, Bitcoin was right around $30,000, and it basically doubled from 30,000 to more than 60,000 in just those few months. And to go up another, let's say, 30,000, or at least close to it, you could do that. That was the thought. That was a theory. I never jumped on it, but that did not happen. The opposite happened, and we're right back to where we were in July of 2021. So what are the issues here? Or at least what are the issues as I see them? I tend to see two major problems with cryptocurrencies as a whole. And again, I'm super consistent with this. I don't think many people, even though I know Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have their own rabid fan base, but I don't think many people are going to disagree here. One, it is very difficult to evaluate. It is. It is not the same as a company. It is not the same as a stock or a business. Those are all synonymous, by the way. But that's not the same. There is no CEO to evaluate and say, this person's leadership has been able to manage the company X, Y, and Z. There is no supply chain to worry about. That could be a good thing or a bad thing, but I can say I believe in, let's say, Tesla or Ford because the supply chain is going to get better. That's an actual tangible thing. I could say that I see that you are adding more customers and more subscribers. You're spending X amount. This is going to be more profitable. Same thing we said with SoFi, where we looked at the financials, the actual business, and said, look, I personally think that the losses that you had are going to dissipate. And I've seen you do better from March of last year to March of this year. Therefore, I'm going to invest in this company. No cryptocurrency has that. No cryptocurrency has that. It is just a computer algorithm that is valuable, right? I've been able to send money instantly and not have, a lot of the rules and regulations and decentralization. All that stuff is there. Okay, so there is a value in the blockchain and with cryptocurrencies as a whole. This just ain't one of them. it is very difficult to evaluate the need for Bitcoin, the demand for Bitcoin outside of it went up X percent. That's all we really have. And in a time like this, where many investors are unsure whether or not we're going into a recession, and if we're already there, I can evaluate and say, I understand why Walmart is up, because you still have to shop at Walmart. I can understand why a healthcare company is up, or even an ExxonMobil. That makes total sense to everybody, supply and demand, why ExxonMobil is up 40 or 50% this year. We can do that. We can evaluate that very, very easily. No one can tangibly evaluate why Bitcoin is down the same percent as most stocks, or like a PayPal, right? It makes sense for Coinbase because that's kind of Coinbase made its name. But why is it down there with Roku? Why is it down there with Netflix? Netflix is losing subscribers. Bitcoin doesn't have any subscribers to lose, right? They're just people are selling, and we don't really have any data. So that the difficulty of analysis is one reason why I haven't been the biggest Bitcoin fan, where we don't cover it that much on the channel. The other reason is this. It doesn't have the same historical weight. It will. In 20 or 30 years, Bitcoin is going to have historical weight where we can go back and flip back to the history books and say, every time that this happens, this other thing has happened. So one of the reasons why I am not freaked out by how the stock market is falling is for a few reasons. I knew that interest rates were going up. We know, looking at history, when interest rates rise, stocks fall, and we know that certain types of stocks do better than others. We know that when the yield curve inverts, we've talked about this, we did a video on it. When the interest rate curve, it's a Friday, y'all. But when the yield curve inverts, so I'm trying to say, when it inverts, there is a recession around the corner. We know that. I've got history. We had charts in that video that gave you basically a chart of every single time that it happened. Right? I know that. I can understand that. I can get my life right to prepare for that should that occur again. Bitcoin is relatively young. It is still quite young. Most of us, right? Most normal people, I say normal people, but tech people they're different. They know a lot more things. They're very advanced. For us regular people, we didn't know about it until about 5 years ago. And I don't think Bitcoin was created or established in like 2009, 2010. So we're talking about, 12 years? That's not that long. And in that 12 years, we've had one coronavirus and this, whatever's going on in 2022. And that's not enough information for me to ascertain and say that when recessions happen, this happens. And that it is a true hedge against inflation, and that it is real diversification. We don't know that. We literally do not know that because it has not been around and time tested enough to really see that. It was not here during the Great Recession. It definitely wasn't here during the Great Depression. It wasn't here in the dot-com bust. We don't know. And that is something that is an issue. So many people assumed that should the economy fall, should the stock market fall, should inflation rise, that Bitcoin and most cryptocurrencies were going to be the place. We even seen with something like Luna that was supposed to be a stable coin, which was basically a place that you could say, I'm going to put my money here. Perhaps I'm getting some interest, but I'm not going to lose. It cannot really fall. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to be stable. That wasn't the case, and that cryptocurrency fell close to like 99% within the past 24 to 48 hours. Not years, not months, hours, which again further proves that we don't know as much about cryptocurrencies as many people thought. Which means this. So what should you do? Should you sell because you don't know it? There are a few ways you can look at this. You can take the Warren Buffett route and say, I don't want none of it, and totally ignore it. That's actually not the worst thing in the world. Would you have missed some of the huge gains that Bitcoin has made? In fact, I think I may have said this earlier, from July of 2021 to November, Bitcoin went from right where it is today, around 30,000, to 67,000. You could have doubled your money and then some. So should you completely ignore it? That's up in the air. Or should you manage it? And that's the approach that I am at currently. I have always said 1 to 3% of your entire portfolio. Don't go beyond that because we don't know the future. It is very difficult to measure value and how it's going to react to other things that are going on in the market. So for me, I have a very small allocation. I was trying to get up to 1%. I didn't even get up that high because I keep putting money in on a regular basis. I dollar cost average, especially Bitcoin, and it keep falling. So I can't get to 1% of my assets if I keep adding money and the value keeps falling and falling. Now, hopefully, next 6 months, hopefully sooner than later, right, that Bitcoin will recover. So personally, I am not selling for a few reasons. Number one, I want to approach this as a long-term investor. So that's number one. Number two, it's a very small portion of my portfolio. I know when some people say, when they're talking about investing, don't invest more than what you lose. Well, I would prefer not to lose a dime. If I lost all my Bitcoin, it's not going to hurt me. I would not be, my life would not change. And that's not a flex. We're not talking $20,000 or $30,000. We're talking, I think, I don't even have $2,000 in Bitcoin anymore because of how it's fallen. So if it drops to zero, which again I do not think, then I'm going to be fine, right? And that's just because I made sure that I didn't have more than 1% of my portfolio. Now, if Apple crashes and goes to absolute zero, or an index fund does that, then I would be in a much worse situation, right? That I have way more money there than what I have in something like Bitcoin. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Again, this is not an anti-Bitcoin or anti-cryptocurrency take. It's not a Warren Buffett take either. But I do think it is okay to ignore certain things and focus on what you know. That I think is the biggest thing. If you don't know enough about cryptocurrencies, if you don't know enough about NFTs and what NFTs are, you can ignore those for now and focus on what you do understand. And maybe if you're ready, you can branch out to that. Or you can just stay at what you're really good at, which is totally fine. The other part of it is, and what I've always said, the same reason I don't invest in gold or oil or silver, is because it's more difficult to evaluate. There's no CEO of oil, right? There's no CEO of gold. And why it makes sense that oil is up right now because of supply and demand, it does make sense. It can also turn on you as well for all types of geopolitical reasons that I don't have the time to figure out and really to analyze, and things that you cannot necessarily predict. But again, this comes down to history. We don't have enough history. Does history predict the future? No. You can talk about banks and how I thought, based on history, that banks were going to be the best place. Sometimes the market moves, right? And that's totally fine. But the key here is it's difficult to evaluate. And I think what most people thought about Bitcoin, about cryptocurrency as a whole, in terms of being a hedge for inflation, a place to protect your money, has not been true. That has not been the case. And we're learning it the hard way. And I think we need to take a step back and really assess what the true value of cryptocurrencies are. Not what they can do, not the potential. There's definitely potential, but what do they actually do, and how do you determine the value of it? Just as we did with SoFi, as we'll do with Amazon as an exclusive video, we can see the value of it because more people are ordering and they've acquired whatever business, and they give us decent projections, right? We can do that. We can't do it with Bitcoin. We can't do it with any cryptocurrency, at least not yet. So take that context, take that information, use it however it is that you want to use it. I'm not selling. I'm not going nowhere. I also don't have that much to lose either. So put that in context as well. But I just wanted to give you my thoughts on it. I know just not Bitcoin as a whole, or only rather, but the entire crypto space has a passionate fan base. That fan base is not going to help me right now. Right, that Dogecoin, Shiba Inu fan base is not gonna help me right now. Right, and the last thing I'll say in this rant explanation, whatever it is you want to call it, is the other downside is because cryptocurrencies are so open that anybody can make anything at any time, makes it acceptable to big mistakes like Luna or meme coins that don't actually make sense, and memes of meme coins like Shiba Inu that don't have any actual value. I could do a rant about NFTs as well, but that is one of the issues. I can't make a publicly traded company out of nowhere. I can't do that. And if I did, there are a lot of SEC regulations I have to go through. Then I got to put out earnings and reports to you for you to inspect to see how true my results are. That's the quote unquote protection of the stock market that is not offered through cryptocurrencies. Does that make them perfect? No. Does that mean that the stock market can't fall? That is clearly not true. So there's still research and things that you need to do on your end, as always. But you do need to validate everything from every asset and every type of investment based on what is out there and what you can rely on. I don't think the information we've had for Bitcoin in terms of the opinions and thoughts and theories around it has been is proven not to be as accurate, and it is proven not to be what many thought it was as a way to protect yourself from from something like inflation or a market crash, which is exactly what we're going through right now. All right, that is it for me. I would love to hear your thoughts on cryptocurrencies as a whole. Did I miss something? Was I right? Was I wrong? Let me know in the comments. All right. Sorry. One more thing. Maybe two. So we are going to do an exclusive video on Amazon. We'll probably do like some membership thing, like $2 a month or something like that. And I want to kind of get into the habit of doing like one video a week for those who are in that exclusive membership group. So that look for that in like the next 2 weeks. The second thing, there are people that are in the comments right now that comment but don't subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. Hit subscribe. Y'all just be here. Like, do that. That helps everybody out. All right. That is it for me. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.